Welcome to Beyond Bacalhau, Cracking the Portuguese Business Code by Raquel Batista. Hey guys, and welcome to the 12th episode of my podcast, Beyond Bacalhau, Cracking the Portuguese Business Code. And I have the most wonderful guests over with me, Matt and Dawn, the unretirees. So let me just tell you the story about how I met this wonderful couple. So I don't even know how it started, but once we connected, I ended up creating the company for them. But we met physically way after we've done everything. The company was created. We were back and forth. I mean, everything. We had a pretty deep relationship, and then we met physically, which was really strange. And it was so great at the same time, because finally, I was able to have these two wonderful couple in front of me, and finally physically embrace them. So Matt and Dawn, I introduced you. Of course, you were one of the responsibles for a lot of exposure that I have right now. So let me tell you that just because of that interview that I did with you, a lot of clients came and said, you are rock stars. So tell me a little bit about yourselves and how all of this started.
Well, first of all, let me say that you are the rock star, because it's easy for us to refer you because of how helpful you were to us in this process. And I'm sure we'll talk more about that, but it's the easiest referral we do is you have to talk to Raquel. Do not pass go, do not collect $200. Just go directly and talk to Raquel. So we're Matt and Dawn. We're the Unretirees, and we moved from the U.S. In mostly New York City to Nazaré, Portugal in 2023. Now, our story was that we originally were planning to move here when we retired in 2027. We bought a property here in 2022. We got it licensed to rent it out until we made that move. But once we did that, the big question was, how can we get there sooner? We are ready to go now. Once you're here in Portugal, once you've made up your mind, you just want to be there as quickly as possible.
You're done.
It's true. And so what we did is we just got really serious about building what we call an unretirement plan. How can we move to Portugal now? How can we live out our dream of living abroad and traveling the world without retiring? And that was a really big question that we had. And it was really the key to us coming to Portugal early. And we talked to so many people in the US, especially right now, who feel the same way. How can I make this work? But for us, it was really scary to come to a new country and think about business. How does business work? How do taxes work? How does accounting work? How does bookkeeping work? And we felt really lost. And we didn't know how. I mean, we understand the US, and the US system is complex enough, but we kind of know how to make it work. But we had no clue about Portugal. And we landed here and we thought, well, okay, now we're here. We have this huge tax rate. How do we navigate this? And it wasn't until we sat down with you, we did our first call. I couldn't be physically on the call because I had a breakout on my face. I don't know if you remember that, but on the side. It wasn't until we sat down with you that we felt like we could do this. We know what our options are. We feel like we have the best route. There's so much misinformation online for expats, so much. And we talked to so many expats who kind of well, we're just winging it and we hope it all works out. And we did not want that. We didn't want to feel like we were doing something that was going to catch up with us later. We wanted to be really clear on what we were doing, why we were doing it, and the implications for our business. And so that's why now we talk to people and they're just thinking about coming to Portugal and working remotely or freelancing or having a business, all the different ways that we can make this work. And we always say, you need to talk to Raquel before you even make the decision to come to Portugal, because you need to understand what the pros and cons are. Because again, there's so much misinformation on the internet for expats. But beyond that, it doesn't even matter. Even if it was absolutely, correct, which it's not, your situation is different than the person who's, doing that
Precisely.
video, writing that article, whatever it is, you've got to sit down with somebody and you can talk about your situation with. So for us, we have businesses in the US, we have Airbnbs in the US, we have businesses and short-term rentals here in Portugal as well. So it was very complex. It was not possible for us to log on to a blog post or watch somebody's YouTube video and say, oh, now we understand. We
Yeah.
had to sit down. And then, so that's why we always say, if you're coming to Portugal, before you even make that decision, surround yourself with some good professionals who know what they're doing. Get clear. Do not make this move blind. This is very important, especially if you're thinking about, having a business here or doing income or working remotely or any of those things. It is possible, but do it smart and do it right.
This is one of the biggest investments that you're going to have. I mean, this
Yeah.
is one of the crucial steps. If you want to do something right,
Yeah.
you're going into a country that you don't know. You may have businesses before, but the rules are different. The culture is different. The way that things are done are different. And that's a lot of times the difficulty that I have. But I'm really glad, again, one of the things that I really appreciate of doing this is the fact that I see the difference that that I make in people's lives. I think I was missing that a lot in my corporate life. And even I think it's probably even worse with people that have businesses in the US because they think it's the same and
Yeah.
it's completely different. And
Yeah,
so
it's
they
different.
just think, oh, I'll continue to, write my invoices in what is it the name of there's some app or some software that everybody talks about when
QuickBooks.
exactly. I'll just
Yeah, yeah,
do
yeah.
it in QuickBooks
Just
and I'm
do
like,
it.
no, you cannot do that. It's a certified software program, yada yada yada. You cannot do that. So there's so many differences that even when someone's an experienced entrepreneur,
Right.
if you want to come over, and you should know as an entrepreneur that it is a good investment to pay someone to do
Yeah.
the things that you don't know or that you don't do as good as
Yeah.
other people can do. And
Yeah.
so I am so grateful and glad that you are like spreading the word because
Yeah.
I think it does make a huge difference. And I've seen people change even the decision. So people
Mhm.
that were really afraid of coming over exactly because they didn't know anything, then are a bit more relaxed, a bit more sure, and they can do things. And like I said yesterday on a story, because a client was talking to me and saying, this is very complicated. And I said, no, it's not complicated. It's complex, but it's not
Mhm.
complicated.
Yeah.
Complicated is only if people make it complicated. I make it simple. That's what I'm here for. I mean, I don't know a lot about much else, but this I do. And I'm here to make it simple, but it is a complex system. So you do need help. And I think when someone's moving, and kudos to you guys, to each one of you guys that moves country. I mean, I don't even think about changing houses, but that you already have so much to think
Yeah.
about that this is something you can delegate. Look, what, like, how can I plan this? How can I do this? Do this for me. Okay, I'm relaxed about this. Let me think about furniture and dogs and whatever it is that I need, and houses, whatever it is that I need to move. So thank you, because you are also doing a great job of helping and making other people have the tools to live here properly and with safety and assurance that they are doing the right thing. So really thank you also for that work. And I also wanted to talk about, once you were here and you created your wonderful business, how did you think, how was the transition between having a business in the US versus having a business here? And how did you settle down and then make it grow? Because it's huge right now. I mean, I was like, watching you guys, and I was like, dear Lord, these guys are way, like, they're exploding. And I was so proud because I'm the mama of this company. So tell me a little bit about that process.
I think that, once we met with you, not to just keep bringing it back to you, but it
Oh,
was
you
really
can.
so game
Please do.
and how wonderful you are. It really was game changing because once we didn't have to think about that piece, business is business is business. You find a customer, you solve a problem, you serve the heck out of that customer, and you find a way to do it repeatedly. And so I think that that was running a business here in Portugal from that perspective is not really all that different. There's some things like, Matt could probably address this in terms of like money transfers and accounts and I don't know, there's that. But in terms of starting and growing a business, once you get a good professional who can, because it was not only you actually referred us to our accountant.
Yes.
And
It's a
there's
good team.
so much more filing here in Portugal than any
Yeah.
entrepreneur in the
Yeah.
US can imagine. And
Yes.
so again, when all of that stuff was off, then we could just focus on the core. And that core is just, like I said, you find somebody you would love serving. What's their problem? How can you solve it? And how can you do that at scale?
I think that's right. I mean, I think once you have an accountant in place, it almost feels very similar to a US business because the accountant handles so much of the regulatory filing for you, the invoicing, and all the other stuff that is required here in Portugal. I think if you were, stop me if I'm wrong, I think an accountant is required. Is that?
Oh
Is that
yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It's mandatory with the company. Yeah.
Yeah. So uh, it so because you've got an accountant in there and you have interaction there, but really business is not all that different. And if you run an LDA, which is what we have, which is
You set up for us.
yeah, which is a corporation not unlike an LLC or a C corp, but if you have an LDA, you've got deductions that you can take that are not too dissimilar from the US. And so it feels very familiar once you get the structure going and once you get an accountant in place and you have a month or two of sort of making that work, it starts to feel very normal.
I was just going to say, I think a main fear for entrepreneurs coming to Portugal is the tax rate, they hear about the tax rate. And so that was why we always advocate for people to meet with you, because when you understand how the LDA structure works, then that tax rate becomes something very different. Something I loved that you said with us. You gave us a lot of tough love, which I really appreciated. And you're like, I know you didn't come to Portugal to pay no taxes into a country. And I was like, you're absolutely right. But we want to be smart about it. And so for people who, especially entrepreneurs who have an LLC and they're used to a lot of write-offs and they're like, I don't want to give that up. It is different. However, the LDA is a very useful structure and setup. And again, please, like if you're an entrepreneur in the US, you're thinking about moving here, you're wondering how it works, talk to Raquel, get some information, because I do think that tax rate is very scary for Americans.
And,
True.
And I think part of the benefit of talking to somebody like you is that an LEA is not the right answer for everybody's situation. Right. In some situations, it's registering as a freelancer and having the tax implications for that apply. That just may be a better deal. So I think you really need to know those differences. And frankly, coming from another country, you're just not going to know those differences. So you need to be talking to somebody like you who can lay out for your situation, lay out the alternatives and help you decide what's best.
Yeah, and it really depends also very, very much on the specific situation, like you were saying. I mean, a little detail can turn completely the decision over one way or the other. Like NHR, do you have NHR? Okay, maybe it's different because you have a 20% flat rate, so maybe let's go freelancing. And then there's other considerations. One thing that I've always heard about expats, I've never heard one coming over saying, I don't want to pay any taxes. I don't want to contribute in any way to the country.
Right.
And I really just don't want to pay taxes. Each and every one person that comes over here are really adamant about paying their share of taxes. Of course, we don't want to be dumb. We want to be smart. And within the system, it's not anything illegal. It's just working within the system to the extent of what you can do. So if you don't do that, it's just dumb. Okay, right. Because things are there for you to do. So you really need something like that coming over.
And I just want to say, you cannot put a price on the peace of mind that it gives you, knowing that you're working within the systems, within the guideline, that you understand just the peace of mind. Entrepreneurs have enough to worry about. Like you said earlier, we don't need to have the weight of, like I said, you don't want to have something. So the peace of mind that working with you gave us was huge.
Yeah, on occasion, I golf. And so on occasion, I'll golf with somebody who is an expat who has moved to Portugal and they're still doing work in the United States. And I always ask them, so how did you approach sort of the structure of that? And I'm surprised at the number. It's not everybody, but I'm surprised at the number of people who say, well, I just, I have the deposit come into my US account and I get a 1099 from the US. And I say, are you not concerned that could come back and bite you? Yeah, I'm very concerned about that, but I don't know what to do about it.
Yeah.
Right. And so even in situations like that, it's like, well, I suggest you talk to somebody about this because there's solutions out there for you.
And again, everybody's situation is different. So, you just you got to figure out what's right for you.
Yeah.
You don't have to be extremist in the sense that I never told you guys just completely shut off your business in the US from one day to the other. You can do things in a balanced way. So
yes,
don't be scared also of, I don't want to give up what I have. You can do things progressively. You can keep both businesses. But what is really important is don't do like the ostrich, like with the head in the sand.
Right.
Because things are coming up from the sand and biting in the ass, as Matt was saying, because Portugal may think that they have the right to tax because the company is being run from here because management is here. And so sometimes people get slapped with a corporate income tax fine, which they don't even know where it comes from but it's not a Portuguese company. Okay, it's not, but it's being run from here. And so a lot of people aren't aware of this. They think they can just continue on doing whatever they're doing, and it's not. So it's really pay attention to that issue, and you can do things progressively, progress as you grow. Nothing has to be too extremist and too black or white. We can go by stages. There's already enough stress in the other areas of your life, so this we can do progressively. And you guys are serious entrepreneurs. You really know about business because you concentrate on what brings you money in. So you delegate, and this is one of the best things to delegate. Like with the accountant Pedro, oh my God, he probably has enough of me because I don't do anything. Like I do the least possible amount of admin work. That is actually a struggle of mine because I cannot deal with any apps or whatever, or project management apps or whatever. So I am very, very disorganized. So I need a lot of help in that regard because I'm going to take 3 hours to organize a freaking CRM program, when probably my oldest does that or did that in like 15 minutes. And I was like, okay, I'm really getting old. The other thing that we should really talk about is how did you adapt and adjust, and how did you make it grow so much in so little time? I mean, this is just a testament on how much business because you make it so simple, Don. It's like, oh, you serve someone, you solve a problem, and that's it. I'm like, oh my God, I wish I had things so clear in my head. How did you grow so much, and how is it going?
So I'd say there's two sides of the business that we set up. The first side is that I'm still, we'll call it employed with the company in the United States. We do have a baseline of income from that. Right around the same time that we were setting up the LDA, we wanted to get into the content creation business because there is so much information about how do people who are over 50 navigate this world when jobs are insecure. Mm-hmm. And there's also a desire for them to sort of get more out of their life than just work. And so this was sort of the genesis of the unretirees thing. Really, what we are doing was the genesis of the unretirees thing. So that was the other part of the business. And we started that really at the same time that we launched the LDA. And, started with YouTube and with a newsletter and Instagram. And we've just built it up slowly over time. But it's a message that resonates with people who are of this age group because more often than not, people who are, there's a whole retirement of a generation ahead that just isn't, well, either available or interesting to people who are in this generation who's currently either entering the 50s or in their 50s. And so this starts to give them alternative ways to think about it.
We think about business from mission, goals, strategy, execution, sort of those four things. So when we started our YouTube channel, I said to Matt, I am not going to just put videos on the internet and hope people find them. There's nothing wrong with that approach. I just knew I wouldn't stick with that. I feel like you and I are very similar in that way. Like I'm working, pushing towards a goal. And so we were able to get our YouTube channel monetized in under 90 days, which is unusual.
Crazy.
So we were, and listen, we've had a lot of hits and misses when it comes to YouTube. We are not experts, but we started with a really ambitious goal. But we also had something on Instagram. So our Instagram is, we're about to hit our next goal of 12,000 subscribers. We had about 10,000 subscribers in 4 months, 3 or 4 months.
That was insane.
But I'm going to tell you exactly what we did because it's nothing that I hear from any Instagram gurus. I feel like Instagram gurus are like, well, put it out and use a trending audio and wait for the algorithm to find you. And I'm like, we don't have that kind of time because we started our YouTube channel in late April. And we serve a specific audience, people 50 to 65 who are empty nesters, but not yet retired and want more time freedom, location freedom, financial freedom, and more freedom over their work. We call that purpose freedom. So we had a very clear group of people we were trying to reach, but we also had a deadline because we knew at the end of April that depending on the outcome of the US election, the demand for people looking to move overseas could skyrocket again, depending on how that. So we knew that we had 6 months. We had 6 months in order to be in a position to be a resource for people who may want to move abroad, after the election. So what we did is we posted content. We posted all kinds of content because we didn't really know what was going to resonate with our audience. And so any post that we did, we only do reels, any reel that we did that was successful organically at getting more followers, like we put this out and it got 20 followers, for example, we would boost that content. We would spend $5, $10, $20. We would boost it. And then suddenly, instead of 20 new followers, we had 300 new followers. And so we just kept doing that until we reached 10,000. And that's how we were able to do that. I think we spent, I want to say $300 in ads total over those 3 or 4 months. And we've made that back many, many, many times over because we had that audience. And so now that our business has shifted and as we introduce paid products, as we introduce lead magnets and sales funnels, now we're looking at the content that performs best for getting people into the sales funnel. But in those first few months, when our main thing was just getting an audience, that was what we did. And so, it's business. All of these strategies kind of change over time, but I am constantly shocked by how many people will spend thousands of dollars on a program to figure out how to grow organically when you could put that same money into ads and grow an audience, and your audience will know better. Your audience knows what they want more than any guru that you could pay thousands of dollars to. Do you know what I mean? Like, put the money in your audience, put the money in what your audience
they'll tell
needs.
you.
Yeah. The products they need, the problems they need solving, what they respond to, like invest in your audience. And, I feel like marketing advice, everybody has a different take. This is only what works for us. I'm not saying that it would work for everybody, but again, because we had a very specific audience to serve, and ads allow us to target by age, so we could target that specific age group. And we felt like we had a specific deadline. How that worked out is that the election went how it went. I'm not sure if you heard about it.
No. What about it?
Yeah. And we were able to release products and have our biggest month shortly after the election. But it's because we had taken the time to grow our audience, learn our audience, serve our audience, so that when that moment came, we felt like we were ready to give them the tools that they needed to to succeed and to figure out how to make a move abroad.
I mean, obviously, we knew there was an election. We really felt like there was just a message around unretirement and a message around the desire of people to move abroad that was going to resonate. When the election happened, we were already here with an audience that was already here. I think we were able to take advantage of sort of the increase in that sort of interest. Probably wasn't until it was months in before we really thought about, oh, maybe this is an opportunity. But I also think it's not a past opportunity. I think it's one of those things where there will be another opportunity that will drive demand down the road here and here and here and here. And you just have to start and be ready to take advantage of whatever opportunity gets presented to you.
Yeah, that was not the whole business as serving election. We just knew the election was going to be a catalyst to help us grow our business. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's not stopping you guys because a lot of people are still whatever is happening there. I hear a lot of clients like this is the time for them because, well, it was before. I've been doing this for almost 3 years. And at that time, 3 years ago, it was very, very, very evident that people wanted to move. Then it kind of slowed down. And then just before the elections, as you guys testified, there was like a huge, like, I'm going to have to go away.
I was just going to say, I think one of the mistakes that people make, though, is this idea that they need to be running away. Because I think that just that part of the equation alone is not enough. You've got to have something that you're running towards, something that you're trying to get to or achieve, to be able to focus on that. Because if you don't define what you're looking for very well, you will end up dissatisfied more than likely at wherever you land.
Yes.
So
true.
I think you've got to spend more energy and more effort trying to define what's important to you as you're thinking about where you want to move, more than just, I got to get out of here.
As we see expats who are unhappy or not really successful in making the adjustment to Portugal, most of the time, those are people who ran away from something instead of running towards a really clear vision of what they wanted their life like to be like in a new country. And we get it. There's a lot of stuff happening right now, and we understand. It doesn't have to be one or the other. It can be both. You can be running away from something that you know, whatever that is. It could be political. It could be a lot of things, but also that piece of really sitting down. And that's why we really focus on this idea of an unretirement plan for our audience, is that let's get really clear on the life that you want to build. And so we think that's an important piece for expats. I talk about it all the time on our YouTube channel. Yeah.
Portugal is not the only destination that is attractive to people. Obviously,
what do you
I know
mean?
it was our right choice. It was certainly our right choice. But I think for the people that we talk to, depending on what they're looking for, we certainly have people for whom Spain or France or Italy or other countries are countries that are attractive to them for reasons that they've defined for themselves about what's important to them. And I think that's, we're not trying to drive people to Portugal. We love Portugal. We'd love everybody to come to Portugal, but we want people to drive themselves toward the future that they really want to envision for themselves. And well, for us, that's Portugal. We know that for some people, it's other places.
With poor taste. You guys do an amazing job because you hit it right in the head. I don't know. You hit it somewhere. Bingo. Okay. Because of the transition of life, also getting out of the rat race. There's a lot of people that are not happy with the rat race and the grind. Then it's not even 9 to 5, right? It's odd hours and commuting and this and that, and not having time for kids. And what you do is framing a new type of living that I don't think a lot of people think it's possible to enjoy life, to actually go on walks, to actually enjoy lunch. And you show that so much, that the possibility of enjoying life while still working. So imagine when you don't have to do anything. So that structuring that you do, okay, the laying out of the plan, of the dream, here, this is what is possible. You can have a wonderful life. The time is your biggest commodity, and you can do this right now. You don't have to wait until you're retired.
Yeah.
This is such an important message to everyone, because even I struggle with sometimes having the discipline of doing that. And I have my own business. So tell me a little bit about that message as well, which I think it's so critical.
Yeah, absolutely. We hear from people all the time in this age group. I don't want to retire, but I
Mhm.
want more time freedom. I want more location freedom. I want more financial upside freedom. And I have this career as X, and maybe I don't want to do that forever. Maybe I want to do this. How I want to contribute is very different. And it is something that a lot of people are just now waking up to. We didn't invent it. We meet a lot of people here in Portugal who are living this life, but
Mhm.
there's so many people in the US. And I've had people say to me, I wish I knew about this before I retired, because I retired early. I feel disconnected. I have struggle with identity. Who am I now?
Mm.
I feel, bored. And listen, there are some people who retire and love it. My dad retired at 60. He is as happy as a clam. But there are a lot of people, especially in this generation, who are like, okay, well, I don't have a pension and I don't have, some of the things that previous generations have. No, you don't. But what you do have is you have the ability with the phone that you have in your hand or the laptop that you have on your desk to reach a
True.
worldwide audience with what you know. And what we really encourage people to do is to build flexible income streams and to start by just sharing what you know, whether that's professional experience, personal experience, whether it's hobbies. You could just start something new. Be like, I'm going to move to Portugal and I'm going to take you guys all along on the journey. I don't know anything about this, but I'm going to learn it as I go. That's what we did. And so there's so many different ways to do this. And on the other side of that, we're discovering all of these things that are possible that we never considered. So, for example, earlier this probably late January, Matt had to go down to the Algarve, and I was like, why don't
Poor
we just
thing.
take it? Why don't we
Poor
just take
thing.
a 10-day road trip through the south of Spain? Let's bring our laptops and let's go, explore in the morning, work in the afternoon. We keep US hours. And we were able to do that. We were able to go to Seville and
You
Cordoba.
liked it a little too much for my taste. But I'll forgive you guys.
But that's what's possible. That again, it will look different for everybody, but there is a way to continue to do work you love. And I would say we are so much more valuable in the work that we do, because we have
Mhm.
this, there's this annoying thing that people have talked about for 100 years about work-life balance. But the truth is that you really can have more control over your life. Working beyond age 50 doesn't have to mean a long commute and 9 to 5 and a bunch of boring meetings that could have been emails. You actually have choices. And I think that's what we're really passionate about sharing with people. Not only that this is possible, but here's step by step how we can help you actually achieve it.
And I think one of the things that is true is that, people who are in their 50s or 60s, they've got 30, 40 years of experience at a certain type of work, or they've got hobbies, or they've gone through parenting difficulties or things like that. And they sort of assume, well, everybody knows this,
Mhm.
Yeah.
right? You know, but the reality is that they've developed a whole set of, a whole suite of things that they are expert or proficient at that other people are very interested to learn from. And I think part of our desire is that people start to recognize the expertise that they have in them, because again, as Don said, there's a worldwide audience out there, and there's enough people in most of these situations to actually allow you to have a money making business by providing advice and experience and things like that. It's not just experience. Don mentioned the will take you along the whole journey aspect as well, which is sort of a different aspect. You've got the experience aspect, you got the journey aspect, which is you're going to take on a challenge. You're going to bring people along with you, and that is a thing that actually works very, very well in terms of trying to attract attention. I've talked about this. They're taking a break right now, but there's an Instagram account that I follow called Cheeky Golf Club, and the main character, the main guy on the Cheeky Golf Club, he golfed every day. I like golf. Golfed every day
Really?
until he made 18 pars in a row, but every day. and he did it for 365 days. They're currently on a break. I don't know what they're going to go back and start doing, but it was it was 2 minutes on Instagram every day, and you sort of would watch it every day, and it was really an engaging thing. And I think that when you are on a journey, that there is an audience out there who is interested in that journey as well, and then they become connected to you as sort of the embodiment of them doing that journey, right? And so it ends up being a very attractive thing. And so I think that's another avenue that people can use to try to build attention and build an audience that then can help build a business.
Exactly what you said was how my head was like bursting when I left my 20 years experience in corporate job. Although I'm, 29, but I had over 20 years of experience in, in the corporate job. And
Yeah.
when I left, I was truly like, I don't know anything. What am I going to do? Because I thought that it was so niche, legal counseling, compliance, internal governance, banking, insurances. How can I transfer this to anything else? And
Yeah.
I was scared shitless, to be honest with you,
Yeah.
because I really didn't know how to translate. First of all, I thought I didn't know anything, of course,
Yeah.
as if something like that was possible. But I truly thought I just wasted 20 years of my life
Yeah.
building a career that I'm now not going to use. And
Yeah.
so that journey was very, very difficult for me to be scared at that moment in time first. And then obviously discovering along the way that, yes, all the knowledge that is here on the back of my mind actually transforms to adapt to things that people need.
Yeah.
And exactly what you said, for some people, things may seem really complicated, but for others, it may be really simple. And I went through that stage exactly where I thought, yeah, but this is so simple. What I know, everybody knows. It's so
Yeah.
simple. And when I found out that it wasn't, like when I sold my first online course, I was like, wow, somebody bought it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I need to meet this person, because
Yeah.
I thought that my knowledge, and it was a legal experience, say, like compliance technical thing. I thought that everything was out the window, that I just had wasted 20 years because I couldn't use that expertise on anything new. And so I just received the gift that you sent, once you register for your newsletter. And it is a beautiful instrument. I was like, Jesus, I wish I had this 20
Yeah.
years ago. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I just want to address, because this is the number one thing that is the obstacle for people we talk to. When we say you have a skill set that you can monetize to build more time freedom, location freedom, financial freedom, and purpose freedom. And we have people who have years and years and years of experience who are like, I don't know anything. And so when we first started talking about this, we kept facing that. And Matt's like, we've got to help them understand the knowledge that they have that they can actually turn into online income and get more freedom. And so that's why we developed that free freedom skills workbook. And so this is just a workbook to go through and to help people understand, like, what do I know that people, and it may be professional experience, like you said, or it may be you're really passionate about baking pies because you have, your grandmother passed down recipes and you want to share that knowledge. That's what we mean by purpose freedom. It can be your professional background, but it doesn't have to be. This is something that you wake up and cannot wait to do and talk about and share with others. It's the thing that lights you up when you talk about it. And it's the thing that when you have somebody sitting across from you or standing next to you at a party and you explain what you do, their eyes light up and they're like, I need that. And so that was why it was Matt's very wise suggestion. He's like, we got to figure out how to help people identify the knowledge that they have, because it's not just about money. It's about purpose. It's about connection. It's about all of these things that are very important as you age. People, studies have shown again and again and again that when people retire, they face loneliness, they face disconnection,
Yes.
there's identity crisis. Psychologists tell us that this period of life is the, along with adolescence, are the two biggest, most challenging life shifts we will face. And it comes down to identity. When we're adolescents, it's like, who will I become? What will I do? Blah, 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 blah. And then you reach this point and you're like, I already did everything I was going to become. So now who am I? And so we love this. We talk about money because money is a good thing, and everybody wants more to feel more secure in their later years and that freedom. But it's really about that purpose, freedom, peace. I do what I love every single day. And so again, the Freedom Skills Workbook is something people can sign up for. And it's just a simple workbook. I think it's 10 pages just to help people identify what is it that is that lights me up thing that I want to start sharing online.
Beautiful. I think I'm going to have to revise this because we could go on for hours. I mean, I'm just, there's so much that I'd like to talk to you about. When you know something, you can explain that to a 4-year-old. And you just explained to me, the 4-year-old, like the strategy, marketing strategy to make anything grow. And I was like, oh, right. Because I did it completely backwards. I really grew organically, painfully slowly, because it was just word of mouth. And I had that difficulty of popping the expat bubble because the expats usually only trust each other. And so it was very difficult. I had to first have like a lot of clients that then they could refer to me. And so then those people had the trust that they could trust me in Portuguese. But it was kind of hard to enter that bubble. But I did it like this. It was like painstakingly waiting for the flowers to bloom of all the seeds that I had planted. And now, thank God, like 98% of my business is through referrals, which I think it's an unbelievable business model. I had nothing to do with it. It is what it is.
Yeah.
But I think you also have so much business knowledge, even just for that, how to start. I mean, what am I good at? What can I make a business out of? Which is just amazing and amazing. So I really invite anyone watching this to go to the Unretirees channel and Instagram. They are going to post things that will make you drool, but that's okay, drool. And they are going to make you dream that there is a possibility of actually having a balanced and enjoyable life, which is, we're so used to it, we're constantly on a struggle mode, and even when we can come out of that struggle mode and look at what you have. You can have a better life. You can enjoy life more. But Portuguese people have this set of mind, which is very difficult to get out of, which is, no, life is hard. Life is tough. You have to grind. You have to really fight. And so I think that philosophy of coming over and say, no, there's a completely different way of living, even before retirement. Again, I'm 29, right? And that is a thing in the 30s and the 40s, especially because people, when have kids, and I have 3, I have to set aside time to dedicate to them. They are the number one priority, and then everything else comes. So my business had to adapt to them, not the other way around. And the only way that we can do that is to have our own business, because then we can adapt. So your messages are so, so important. And yes, for your age group, but also it extends to anyone working. Because if it's not, now I'm retired, I have kids. I want to have more time with them. I don't have even, the freedom of mind to think about going on a walk with them. And so it is very, very important, the message that you're putting out there. Last words. I think we're going to have like a point 2 of this podcast with you guys, because I think there's so much to talk about still. But last words, you guys.
Well, I'll say this. I think that there's a certain amount, and Don talked about the 4 freedoms that are sort of the pinnacles of what we do, but I think that there is collectively a certain amount of freedom that you have when you feel like you have more control over your destiny. And I think one of the things that is different about being in your 50s and 60s than being in your 30s and 40s is if you are in a job and you lose a job
Mhm.
for whatever reason,
Mhm.
it is very difficult at 55 or 60 years old to land another job. And so I think one of the things that is important for people in this age group is to also be thinking about, you know, we'll call it alternative scenarios, right?
Yeah.
To be able to start to be to prepare themselves just in case that were to happen. I think one of the I know we're on the last words. I'm going to give you another story. There's a gal who's a crisis PR person who works for a company, and she built an Instagram following, a TikTok following, I guess, on crisis PR and how she would handle things. And she's become a valuable, independent of her company that she works for. She's become a valuable voice on how to handle these situations, which makes her even more valuable for the company that she works for. So it's I think that there's a pathway here for people who are in their 50s and 60s who want to either become more valuable to their companies or they want to protect themselves should something happen to their career that they can get started on today.
And I think my last words would be, and I am not blowing smoke. If you are an expat or you plan to be an expat and you want to have income here or business or whatever, 100% set up a call with Raquel today. Get the information that you need, get those good professionals around you. I mean, I am not lying when I say I do not know where we would be if we had not connected with you, because it's so much to navigate. We're so clueless. And if anybody's on the fence about taking that next step with you, we just say, jump at the chance. You're so knowledgeable and you break it down in a way that when we were the 4-year-olds that were like, we don't know anything. And you break it down and make it so simple. So we're really, truly so grateful for you.
Right. And that's why 95% of your business comes through referrals, because people are so very happy with the service that you provide that they refer you to other people. So that's congratulations to you.
Thank you so much, you guys. I am really, really grateful that we crossed paths. I am so proud to see your business grow, and I always check out your stories. Guys, just always check out their posts and stories. It's magnificent. And it is part of, exactly like you said, Matt, we feel like you're part of your experience. So it's really, really amazing. And thank you so much for taking the time to have this little chat with me, and please be available for more, because
Thank you. It's such a great opportunity to just connect with you again.
Yes, true. And whenever you come to Cascais, because if you're off to Spain or whatever it is, you can come to Cascais as well, right? It's closer, you guys. Okay,
I know.
please.
We need to come back down. We're overdue for a
We
visit.
have so many restaurants to explore here. Come on. Thank you so much, guys. Okay, see you around.
All right.
Bye.